Because we had difficulty finding sufficient data, our group had to change our original idea of comparing fast food and regular restaurants to the economy to an analysis focused more on fast food and obesity rates. Specifically, our group analyzed the state obesity rate in comparison to the number of fast food restaurants, age, ethnicity, and income of the population using data from Kaggle and data.world. For obesity, we extracted columns regarding our study and omitted all null values. Then we removed all data outside of 2015 to 2016 and aggregated the average obesity rate by location and year. Because the location data included some locations that were not states, we removed these rows as well. For fast food data, our group utilized the date-added longitude, latitude, and province columns. In order to accurately compare the data with obesity, the sums of the number of fast food restaurants were aggregated based on state, which only included restaurants that were added up until 2016.
The first dataset that was analyzed was the obesity statistics, and we generated plots in order to visualize an individual's relationship between obesity with age, income, and ethnicity. We chose the years 2015 and 2016 to match with our other datasets time frame, and as you can see, the 2 years have very different values. However, when plotting them together, the scatter plot looks almost identical to the 2016 data. This is because after cleaning the 2015 dataset and omitting null values, the dataset was too small to provide confident readings. Therefore, it's necessary to display the 2015 and 2016 results together rather than separately. As you can see here, obesity tends to increase with age, peaking for middle-aged people and then slightly declining for seniors. Obesity and income have an inverse relationship, which confirms our initial assumption that wealthier people would have more nutritious meals available to them, perhaps meaning they eat less fast food. Lastly, when examining ethnic groups' obesity readings, Asians were clearly the least obese, while other groups displayed similar readings, with Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders being the highest.
So next we started comparing per capita income, obesity rates, and average fast food counts with one another. So we used the correlation coefficient to determine the strength and direction of the relationship. And by using this, we determined that the relationship between income and fast food count was positive, but not completely linear. And the relationship between average fast food count and average obesity rates was surprisingly negative, but had a weak relationship because of the small correlation coefficient. Next, we plotted the relationship between average income and obesity levels. The correlation for these variables was negative, but it was much more distinct and had a higher correlation coefficient. It's still not perfectly linear, but the variables showed much more connection with one another. We also incorporated the average fast food count into this plot by using it as a color code. Finally, we plotted rates of change from 2015 to 2016 against one another to see if there was any growth correlation, but found almost no relationship between any of the variables.
The next step of our project was to develop an interactive capability so that the user can quickly visualize the changes in data that are reflected in the scatter plots discussed above. We chose to vary the color of each state based upon the value of the data. Essentially, we created a density or heat map of the US with our clean data using the ggplot2 package in R. The process of creating an interactive platform was achieved through using RShiny. We created a drop-down bar to allow the user to filter between each dataset and its respective year. This allows for easy access to each data source, including the ability to rapidly switch between data sets to see any potential trends through the changes the data undergoes as each data set is changed. One tip we would give is to click away from the pop-up box once each data source is selected in order to get a full view of the Western states.
The main conclusions we found from the data are obesity tends to increase with age, and the peak age of obesity belongs to middle-aged individuals. Upon investigating specific groups, Asian groups were the least obese, and Pacific Islanders were the most obese. Only one case of strong correlation was found in our data, and our data indicates that as income increases, obesity then decreases with a strong correlation coefficient.